The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome in to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky. And what a great mood we're in today after Jake Arrieta's performance for the ages. And if the Cubs can make a deep postseason run, he's on the verge, on the brink of becoming a legend if he can lead this team to a World Series.
Yeah, he's certainly played very well, and we'll have to see how he does. But yeah, he's really played well.
I mean, this could go down as one of the greatest seasons ever by a pitcher, including the regular season, because, I mean, Bumgarner was phenomenal in the postseason last year, except, I mean, he was only good in the regular season. I think he had like a 3.0-something ERA, where Arrieta had a 1.77 regular season ERA, throwing the complete game shutout in the wild card. And if he can keep this up, he could be heading into legend territory.
Yeah, I mean, he's played.
And this is all based on, one season and potentially leading them to a World Series. And I'm sure Orioles fans are not happy when they're watching him pitch right now.
Yeah, I mean, what a game yesterday. It was just a great game all around, and there was a lot of really cool moments, and I love how the Cubs set the tone early on with Fowler taking that single. He almost walked, but he got that single.
He almost walked twice, and I got singles both times. I love that.
Yeah,
extend the at-bat even longer to try to get Cole out of there.
Right, and then Schwarber with that nice piece of hitting. It sort of looked like Jose Altuve's hit on Tuesday, where he just sort of swung and hit it out. Not a hard hit, but it fell. And
perfectly placed hit.
Yeah, pretty much.
It definitely beat the scouting report. They weren't playing him down that left field line. That's why Marte wasn't able to make it in time. That stolen base gave the Cubs the 1-0 lead, and that was a lead that they would never lose.
No, and
not when Jake Arrieta's throwing zeros. And I had a friend that texted me after the game that said, "How does this guy just not give up runs ever? Not even one. He never gives up runs."
No, he doesn't.
And it's like, it's Jake Arrieta. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, and there was some tense moments, especially in the sixth inning when the bases were loaded.
When Russell missed that McCutchen hot shot.
Yeah, boy, that hit hard, too.
I was getting nervous because, like, I was pretty confident that there wouldn't be a grand slam there, because it's like, Arrieta just doesn't give up fly balls.
No, he doesn't give up any home runs either.
So. No, yeah, he doesn't give up runs. What happens? Double play ball. And I was just thinking, only good pitchers get out of that situation in the playoffs on the road.
That was the turning point of the game, sort of. I mean, in the seventh inning, they had another double play to get out of it, but that wasn't nearly as drastic. Yeah. And he had already done it before, so I felt pretty confident that he'd be able to induce a double play ball again. And he was just so good. I mean, he started to lose it a little bit in the eighth and ninth innings, but I mean, how cool was it for him to pitch a complete game shutout? That's 2 years in a row that the Pirates have been complete games shut out in the one-game playoff.
Last year, home.
Yeah, last year Mad Bomb did it. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it's just a great time to be a Cubs fan right now.
Imagine how just pissed off Pirates fans are, though, because if it wasn't for the second wild card, none of this would have happened, because they've been the number one wild card team 3 consecutive years. They beat the Reds the first year, got killed by the Giants last year, and lost to the Cubs again this year.
Right. And it's crazy. And to think, last Friday, the Pirates beat the Reds in 14 innings. If they didn't beat them and the Reds somehow won that game, which they jumped out to like a 4-1 lead.
4-0.
Yeah, so they would have, this game would have been at Wrigley Field.
Which I think the Cubs still would have won. Arrieta was being Arrieta.
It wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, I agree. That Schwarber home run would have, that would have been well out of Wrigley Field anyway, and the Fowler home run probably would have happened too. And it was pretty crazy. It was a great atmosphere, and there was tons of Cubs fans there too, which was great to see.
It was unbelievable. You really saw how many were there right after the final out was recorded, and they're all waiting behind the Cubs dugout.
Right, all of them moved up, towards the Cubs dugout, which was just really cool.
You wonder how long they were allowed.
Tons of people with
stay there until the PNC Park kicked them all out.
Yeah, there was tons of people with the win flags, of course, and
why the W?
Yeah, and it was great. It was just, I mean, that was one of the most important Cubs games that we've ever seen, because I mean,
right, they technically won a playoff series.
I mean, and I wasn't really paying attention in 2003 because we were too young. So I mean, this is like the first time that we've really been involved in a Cubs playoff race. Because they got
didn't
swept
involve
in 07, 08.
Just getting furious in 07
It's the
and
first
08.
postseason win that I've ever really seen because I didn't really pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I watched in 2003. I don't remember too much. Like I don't remember. Like I remember
games.
specific things. Like I remember the game when Aramis hit that grand slam in the first inning off of Dontrell Willis.
Yeah.
I remember Woods' 3-run homer in Game 7 and a Luz 2-run homer.
I do remember that.
I remember that. I heavily remember the Bartman play because, I mean, play was stopped for a long time because of that. And I remember I went to because we had school the next day. I remember I went to bed. The Cubs were winning 5-3, and I remember I'd always call my dad in the morning asking if they won. I was so nervous. I was like, "Did they win?" And he was like, "No, they blew it. They lost 9-6." I was like, "Oh." I remember I was so nervous when I called him at work in the morning that day.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, this is, the first time that we've really been heavily involved.
Seen
in
a competitive playoff game.
I know. I mean,
07 and 08, they were blown out in all of them.
I mean, Mark DeRosa had the 2-run homer in 08 to put them on the board. They barely scored a run after that.
Yeah, they didn't do much. Well, when they did score, the game was over.
Yeah.
What was it, like 8-0 when they scored a run in Game 2?
Yeah, and then they lost 3-1 in Game 3.
Which the run was too little too late in the 8th inning.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just, I'm glad that, that changed at least, and we got to see a postseason win.
And it's a really good game for a young team to win. Like, it's pretty much Game 7. It's win or go home.
Yeah,
that's the type of game you want these young players playing in before the real ones happen, because they know what they have to do to win. And obviously, it obviously will be where Jake Arrieta unfortunately won't be pitching Game 5 against the Cardinals, just because
it'll have to be Lester.
You'll have to have it be Lester, which hopefully it doesn't end up going 5 games. Hopefully the Cubs can win in 3 or 4. I'm going to Game 3. It'd be nice if they win tomorrow and Saturday, and then win.
It's a lot to ask.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask, except you need to ask for it. Is with the Cubs, you have to ask for that.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. And when you look at the matchup, I mean, the Cubs are 8-11 against the Cardinals this season. So I mean,
except that doesn't include the way they dominated them at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's not a cakewalk for the Cardinals for those nationally.
Right, and the Cardinals,
really not.
Martinez is out for the season. We don't know how Molina's going to be playing.
Adam Wainwright's just going to pitch an inning here or there every game.
Out of the bullpen.
Yeah, Molina won't be able to hit. So I don't know.
Waka and Lynn have been terrible against the Cubs recently.
They have been horrible. Especially Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn, both of them are
real crappy.
Walking a ton of guys, giving up a lot of runs, and the Cubs got to continue to do that.
On Labor Day, the Cubs blew them out like 10-0 9-0.
That's right, in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I think Dan Herron pitched.
Dan Herron pitched a shutout, so I mean it's crazy. Addison Russell had a 3-run homer in that game. It's definitely going to be not a cakewalk, and now you're going to see even more Cubs fans there, because there are Cubs fans probably right now in Peoria, in Springfield, in Decatur, in those areas who probably haven't traveled to Busch Stadium to see the Cubs play because they've been so bad.
I mean,
now that they're good, I mean, there's going to be tons of Cubs fans there from the central and southern part of Illinois that instead of going up to Chicago and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, they're going to go to St. Louis and spend half the money and see their Cubs win.
Right, and then throwing the fact that there'll still be Cubs fans up here that go down.
Oh yeah. I mean, there will be, but of course I'm just saying, the people that that live closer to St. Louis.
Springfield,
they'll be traveling down there, and that'll be a really fun atmosphere down there because
this could have the implications of the old Yankees-Red Sox playoff series every year back in the early 2000s. When they play every year.
I mean, conceivably, it could be 25% Cubs fans in that stadium, maybe even more. I don't know because I mean there are tons of Cubs fans down there, so I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect.
And it's hard to believe that ticket prices for those games in St. Louis are more expensive than the Wrigley Field ones because Game 3 is set to be the second highest in terms of the secondary market for buying them on like StubHub. The second highest prices, and at average ticket I think is $446. That right now that's second to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, I think last night
second to the clinching game of the Stanley Cup for the Blackhawks.
Last night, I believe it was Joe Ostrowski tweeted out the link to StubHub, and he looked at it and he said, right now, if you were to buy a standing room only ticket for that Game 3, and obviously it changed overnight, but if you were to buy a standing room only ticket, it was going for like $274 for a ticket for Game 3 at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's unbelievable. I mean, that's so expensive.
Like the bad seats are like the last row of the upper deck are going for like almost $300 a ticket.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say if I don't win that thing, if my name isn't drawn out, then I can buy them face value. Then I'm probably not going to be going. It sort of seems that way. It kind of sucks because a lot of people probably want to go, and it's just too darn expensive.
Right. I mean, that's why you got to get lucky and win the lottery.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people entered that thing. I'm assuming it was a ton of people, which is why I didn't win, but it was probably a lot of people. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And it's going to be so fun. Cubs-Cardinals playoff baseball, first ever meeting in the postseason between them. It doesn't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't. It's going to be great. And, of course, the other matchup in the National League is Dodgers-Mets. Then, of course, in the American League, games that have ended, and there's a game that just started. Houston and Kansas City just started in Kansas City a few minutes ago. And Toronto lost to the Rangers earlier today, 5-3. A lot of injuries in that game. Hopefully that doesn't happen with the Cubs-Cardinals series.
Right, and the Cardinals are already hitting the injury bug. Obviously, they were lucky to get Wainwright back. Martinez done. Who knows how Molina's going to play, or who knows if he'll be able to catch all 9 innings in these games because it's his glove hand.
Steven Piscotty, is he back? Is he ready?
Yeah, he's ready.
And then, of course, they had Colton Wong, who was injured. And there's a lot of bad injuries that they've had. The Cubs haven't had a real bad injury, really. So that's a good sign. I think Mott is close to returning. It'd be kind of cool to see him pitch in St. Louis if he's ready against his former team. We'll have to see, if he's even on the postseason roster at this point. I'm not sure.
Mott?
Yeah.
I don't know. If he's injured. I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah, but I know he was close to returning, but I don't know if.
I don't know if there's enough time for him to come back because he's got to. It's a lot of work to get your arm back up and to get your velocity back when you haven't been throwing for so long.
Right, and it's just it's a great opportunity, and I'm just happy. And of course, I think everyone probably predicts it. Whoever wins this series is going to go to the World Series because I think both these teams are much better than the Mets. Maybe not the Mets pitching, but they're better than the Mets and the Dodgers, especially the Dodgers. I mean, once you get past Kershaw and Greinke, I think you should be good to go. I just think these two teams are better teams right now.
Absolutely. We do have an update on the
okay, here we go.
Update on the Astros-Royals game. It is already 2-0 Astros in the top of the first off of Yordanov and there have been 2 RBI groundouts.
2 RBI groundouts, wow. So they must have loaded the bags early and did a lot of good stuff.
Bases loaded and no outs at one point.
Yeah, I am rooting for the Astros. I'm kind of sick of the Royals spiel.
Throwing at guys' heads, thinking it's funny.
I was rooting for them last year. I was rooting for them hard last year. But
even your friend Mark said that, and he said he's just done with them with all this throwing at guys.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's sort of done with them. They're really annoying. Their fans get to the point of being a little annoying. I do still like them, and I'd be rooting for them against anyone but the Cubs in the National League. I'd be rooting for the Royals or any other American League team. But it's going to be tough. I felt like that.